got a slip in your palm and a hole in your chest. Black coffee on the felt, man, you look like a mess. 3-team parlay turned to dust in your head. Now you stare at the chips like they made you this man. But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now. Hold on, hold on. Not tonight, not now. Hold on. Let me pull you out. That bell bites hard, but it don't get the crown.
What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you with Toadstool Sports Friday, May 15th. 2-2 day on the show yesterday. Shouldn't have added that late addition to it. It would have been 2-1 instead. We started out 0-2. Both first 5-inning unders lost. Foster Griffin was not good. That just completely threw that game to the wind. Chase Burns definitely did his part of things in that game. But, yeah, Cincinnati somehow put up a ton of runs in that game. It was dead. And then the other game was dead right away, too. Nolan McLean gives up 3 runs in the first inning to Detroit. And that it's just over at that point. It's already done. I don't know what to tell you about that. Definitely surprising. McLean was like the better part of that under there. He's the better of those two pitchers. We did get the night games correct. San Francisco and the Dodgers looked like that was going to be a loser as well with the under. I mean, it looked good because it was 2-2 into the 6th inning, so that looked good. It's just like, let's just make sure this doesn't go into extra innings here. Somebody just score a run. Oh, no, but the Dodgers score 3 in the bottom of the 6th, so then you're sitting at 7 now all of a sudden, and 1 more run scores are going to push. 2 more, you're going to lose the bet. No more runs scored, though. The bullpens rescued it and saved it, literally. So we got the under on that. Dodgers won the game 5-2. Then we did win the WNBA game, as the WNBA is now 3-0 here on the show. So probably not a bad idea, that I started doing WNBA last year. New York Liberty get the cover there. They were barely winning at halftime, but I wasn't even that concerned about it. And then, yeah, they just had an insane third quarter. And then at that point, you're like, all right, yeah, they're up like almost 20 points now. This thing is, yeah, like they're going to definitely cover this. I believe they won by 18, something like that. The game didn't go under, though, which kind of surprised me. It looked like it was trending towards the under. So luckily, that was not the play that I gave out. I will have 2 Major League Baseball totals today, and I'm going to have an NBA play. There is no NHL tonight, and I'm skipping the WNBA. Even though there are 4 WNBA games, I will tell you what my strongest opinion is. I don't like it enough. But, I mean, something in my head is like, this is better than these stupid MLB totals right now, dude. I don't know. Baseball, like, just messes with your head so badly, even though usually I'm pretty good at it. We've had a good season with baseball, but it almost feels like I have all these baseball plays, and like I feel like I'm going to lose every single one of them. Like in my mind, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. It's just a completely different way of handicapping. Tyson, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right, let's do this. I don't know how I could speed things up with this, man. Baseball takes way too long. Every team is in action here in baseball today. We have all evening baseball. It is Friday. New series are beginning. It is the beginning of rivalry weekend, starting with Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. A lot of interleague rivalry series going on here. Pittsburgh, both of these teams played yesterday. Pittsburgh is staying at home. They just beat Colorado yesterday to finish that series by winning it. Philadelphia is traveling in from Boston, which is not too bad. They did beat the Red Sox yesterday, which I'm not happy about, obviously. Red Sox just cannot score at all. Philly used 3 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. Pittsburgh used 4. Sometimes this isn't accurate because this site is just tracking like who currently is listed as a relief pitcher on this roster. So there are like some teams today that look like they didn't use any relief pitchers, which isn't true, but it's just a way to gauge like generally what the bullpen rest scenario is and see like did the best bullpen arms pitch yesterday or not. As far as bullpen arranged by whip, as I always do, Pittsburgh is actually below Philadelphia now. Philadelphia 18th, Pittsburgh 19th. They're both pretty close, though. They're both mediocre bullpens, I would say. Don't necessarily want to fade them. Don't necessarily want to rely on them either. Pittsburgh has hit pretty well this year. They're 8th arranged by OPS. Philly has moved up a little bit, but they're 22nd. So Pittsburgh actually has the better offense, and they're one of the highest scoring teams at home. They're going up against Aaron Nola for the Phillies here. It's still pretty difficult to gauge what we're going to get out of him. He's not had a good season. 5.14 ERA, 1.48 whip. Nola tried to come back from injury last year. It did not go particularly well. He's been a little bit better on the road so far this year, 4.94 ERA. This month, he has a 9-2 strikeout walk ratio in 2 starts, which is not bad. He had a shutout at Miami, but then he wasn't that good at home against Colorado. So to me, it doesn't look like he's really completely back in form. Like it's almost like that Miami start was a little bit more of an outlier. So I worry a little bit. But if you look at his overall numbers, strikeout rate is good, more than 1 per inning. Hasn't allowed a lot of walks, really. The hit rate is way too high, though. So, I mean, the walk number is a little bit too high as well, actually. He's got a 44-15 strikeout walk ratio, 47 hits allowed in 42 innings. Nola against Pittsburgh, though, does have good numbers, I believe. Yeah, he's held them to a 228 average, 673 OPS, 114 at bats. Ozuna has seen a ton of them and has struck out a lot against him. He's got 41 strikeouts against the Pirates as a whole, 5 walks. So his numbers are all really good here, but remember, almost all these numbers are the past version of Nola before his injury, so I still have a lot of concerns about him. I don't necessarily love Nola here, even though his matchup numbers look pretty good. Braxton Ashcraft is pitching for the Pirates. He's been the better pitcher this year, 2.77 ERA, 1.05 whip. He's not as good at home, 3.42 ERA at home, but he is in really good form over his last 2 starts. He's only allowed 1 run in 14 2/3 innings with 12 strikeouts, 2 walks this month, but it was against Cincinnati and San Francisco. Not really great offenses here. Not that Phillies has been that good either. He's got a really, his ratio looks better here, 51-14 strikeout walk ratio, only 37 hits allowed in 48 2/3 innings. He's been the better of the 2 pitchers, and he does have good matchup numbers, I believe, against Philly. Or no, he does not, my mistake. It's a very small sample. I'm trying to remember everything I just went through earlier. Philly is only 2 for 5 off him with 2 walks, no strikeouts. Garcia and Turner both have doubles off him, but it's such a small sample size. There's not a whole lot to really draw from that. So, I mean, matchup numbers seem to support Nola here. Current form and what these pitchers have done this year would definitely favor Ashcraft here. I don't think there's a huge edge in the bullpens or anything like that. The money seems to be indicating on Philadelphia, though. We have 70% of the tickets on Pittsburgh, 71% of the cash on Philadelphia. Pittsburgh is around -130 or so here. I think I lean Pittsburgh, though. I mean, I know I like matchup numbers. Sometimes I think I weigh them too heavily, though. But again, Nola, like a lot of those numbers were in the past. He's not as good right now. Ashcraft, such a small sample size, I think you can kind of just throw it out. So I don't know. I'm going to lean to Pittsburgh slightly there. And Pittsburgh with a travel advantage because they don't have to travel. Dirty Sock, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Toronto at Detroit on Apple TV. This is a rivalry series. No, I mean, it's probably just because these 2 teams, like, I don't know, they just don't have rivals anymore. There are no Montreal Expos anymore. for Toronto to have to face. So Washington is playing against Baltimore. Sorry, Toronto. Detroit, I guess, doesn't have an equivalent National League rival either there. I don't know, man. Whatever. Detroit is returning home from a road trip, and I don't like that. They went to Kansas City, which isn't that bad, and then the Mets. And I usually like to fade teams returning home from road trips. They've been away for a week. Got to get back to home life. You might get a little bit distracted. But Detroit, I don't know, man, because they did just get swept in really ugly fashion against the Mets. That's pretty bad. So maybe Detroit does not totally get distracted here. Still, I consider it to be a negative spot for Detroit, though. Toronto is coming in from Tampa Bay, and I believe Toronto didn't play yesterday. So Detroit played yesterday, and they're returning home from a road trip. Toronto didn't play, and they're starting a road trip. And usually starting a road trip is a focus spot. Toronto just ended a 3-game losing streak. So the situation definitely does favor Toronto here. They're the rested team as well. Detroit used a lot of relief pitchers as well. Well, they used 4 guys out of the bullpen, it looks like, according to that. Toronto has a rested bullpen. Toronto actually is the better of the 2 bullpens. Not that either are that good. Toronto 15th, Detroit 21st. Detroit is the better offense. They're 11th. Toronto is 24th. But, I weigh pitching ahead of offense. And Toronto's got a lot of advantages, it looks like to me here. Trey Savage is pitching for Toronto. He's become pretty decently established. He's got a .68 ERA this year, but a 1.35 whip. It's a really small sample size, though. And his ERA is worse on the road, 2.25. Oh, no. He's only made 3 starts so far, but he hasn't really gone deep into any of them. So it does look like they're kind of limiting his pitch count a little bit, which makes sense. You don't want to overwork these young guys, But he's only allowed 1 run this season. His overall numbers look fine to me. 15-5 strikeout walk ratio, 13 hits in 13 1/3 innings. Yeah, none of this is that bad. He hasn't really faced any terrific offenses, though. In fact, I think Detroit is actually going to be the best offense he's faced so far. And I believe Detroit has never faced him. Yeah, so he does have an advantage over them with the unfamiliarity. Because when these young, talented pitchers pitch against an offense that's unfamiliar with them, that's an advantage to the pitcher. So I think Savage does set up to do fine here, and Toronto can, figure out how to work their bullpen here, even though I don't love their bullpen, but they're all rested, so they can use it the way that they need to here. Ty Madden is pitching for Detroit. This is a major, major wild card here. His numbers look good this year, 2.45 ERA, .73 whip. He's got a 0 ERA at home. That's because he's only made 2 starts, and he shut out the Red Sox at home. Assuming those were both starts. No, they were both relief appearances, actually, which is another interesting factor here, I think. He's been good, though. He's pitched a starter's workload in both starts. He's got 12 strikeouts, 2 walks, 6 hits allowed in 11 innings. Against, Boston and Kansas City, but Toronto hasn't exactly been that great offensively, so he's not I don't think he's, completely stepping up in class here to face Toronto. Madden might actually pitch well here, man, and Toronto, I believe, has never faced him because he's not pitched much in the league. Lennon Sosa has faced him and is 1 for 4 with a single off him. No strikeouts, no walks. Madden made 6 appearances in 2024, 1 start, and that's the entirety of his career so far. His numbers weren't really that good that year, 4.3 ERA, 1.43 whip, fewer than 1 strikeout per inning, a bit too many walks, kind of, and too many hits allowed as well, but he might actually be okay. I don't know, man. I mean, he's 26. I'm guessing that he was a decent prospect, and then he probably was dealing with injuries. Didn't pitch in the majors last year, but he is pitching well right now. So I think I would weigh that more heavily than whatever else is going on here. He might actually pitch well here, so I'm going to leave this game alone. I think Madden is just too much of a wild card for me here. If you want to go with, you could go Detroit under their team total or something like that. That might make some sense. With the return home spot, sometimes the bats are distracted and they're having to go up against a pitcher who is more established and we know that they've never faced him before. So maybe that's the way to go. I also do lean to Toronto here. Toronto's at about minus 125. The money looks like it's disagreeing on that too. 58% of tickets, 75% of the cash on Detroit. I don't know if I like it, man. Again, the situation definitely favors Toronto. So I think I'm just leaning Toronto in that one, but it's not on my card. There are some arguments to be made for an under. I mean, both, at least first 5 under, because both starting pitchers may actually pitch well here. Full game is 8. Money looks like it is coming in towards the under. I'd probably limit it to first 5, though. With Detroit, definitely Detroit, their bullpen is probably one that I would want to avoid here. Not definitely, but probably. All right. Yeah, because Detroit's unrested and their bullpen's not that good. Baltimore at Washington. Washington is returning home from a road trip. A lot of that today. A lot of that happens on Friday. And I'm not fading any of them, by the way. Like, my only plays are totals. Not a good spot for Washington, though. They went to Miami. They went to Cincinnati. They're now returning home. Could be a distraction, even though this is their interleague rivalry. Baltimore did not play yesterday. So Baltimore has a rest advantage here. But I do worry a little bit because Baltimore just won a series against the Yankees, so they could be in a letdown spot. That's pretty big whenever you beat the Yankees, especially as a divisional foe, and they finished that series by getting to Max Fried and beating the Yankees 7-0 in that game. Pretty unexpected. So could be a letdown spot for Baltimore here. Baltimore, of course, they're rested, like I said, so we don't really have to look at that. Washington has a really bad bullpen. It looks like they didn't use anybody out of the bullpen, but that's not actually true. They used 2 guys yesterday in relief, but they're not listed here, so I don't know if they're considered to be starting pitchers. I don't know what Washington is doing, man. I don't. Their bullpen is bad anyway. They're ranked 25th in bullpen. The Orioles are 13th, so they're at least a more respectable bullpen. Orioles haven't been good offensively. They're 20th. Washington's 7th, so Washington does have the better offense here. Shane Baz is going to get the start for Baltimore. He has not been good. 5.48 ERA, 1.56 whip. Slightly better on the road, but home road splits are pretty insignificant. He's been bad this month, although he faced 2 pretty good hitting teams in the Yankees and the A's, but a 9.8 strikeout walk ratio and 10 runs allowed, almost 1 run per inning over that span. Yeah, that's not good. Although he did only allow 10 hits, but again, the 8 walks are part of the reason why he allowed so many runs. You cannot put that many guys on base. Overall, 38-19 strikeout walk ratio on the season is not good. 50 hits allowed in 44 1/3 innings. That's not good. His overall numbers are just pretty bad. His numbers against Washington, though, they've never seen him before, so he does have that advantage, the unfamiliarity where they haven't faced him before. I don't know that that's really going to be enough here, though. Zach Littell is pitching for Washington. He's been bad as well. 6.94 ERA, 1.6 whip. He's been even worse at home, 7.71 ERA. Washington allows a ton of runs at home, typically, so that's not good. Littell, he looks like he's been a little bit better this month with a 3.52 ERA, but he has 1 strikeout in the 2 starts this month and 2 walks, and he hasn't gone more than 4 innings in any of his last 3 starts. So really, that's not good. He's got a pretty weak 17-13 strikeout walk ratio. It's just he's not striking anybody out. He's not fooling anybody. He's allowed 45 hits in 36 1/3 innings. Yeah, not good. Not good. Numbers against Baltimore also not really good in 94 at-bats. 19-4 strikeout walk ratio is good. Usually Littell does actually have good command numbers, but even those don't look that good this year. 266 batting average allowed, 828 OPS. Not good. You know, I mean, my one hesitation here is that Baz is unfamiliar to Washington. The hitting can cool off a little bit when you have, like, Baltimore had yesterday off, Washington returning home from a road trip. That could cool off the hitting a little bit, but that's kind of my only hesitation here because I lean over in this game. I mean, it kind of seems obvious, but if I was going to play this game, I would go over the total. It's fairly close to being a play for me. Yeah, I mean, you'd go over the 9 here, it looks like. It's at minus 120. Actually, minus 118 at the book with the Lion right now. But yeah, I would go over 9 instead of 9.5 as long as you can get it at minus 120 or cheaper if you're doing it that way. The money's coming in on the over, so That line is probably going to be at 9.5, like across the board at some point. As far as the side, Baltimore is favored at like minus 140. And yeah, they have the rest edge. They do have the situational advantage. I probably agree, even though the market is again against it. 66% of tickets, 81% of the cash on Washington. I probably lean Baltimore. Again, Boz might have the advantage in the starting pitching. Baltimore has a slightly better bullpen. Baltimore's rested. Boz with the unfamiliarity, that might just give him the edge in the game. I would not play Washington in this game, I'll tell you that. But I think over is definitely the strongest way to look at that game. Then you don't have to worry about what the side is going to be at all. Kyle, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Kyle and Tyson, I get you guys confused because you guys both have a Y in your name. And because you two are friends, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. And because you both just put my toad emoji there. All right. Cincinnati at Cleveland as we have another rivalry. Of course, the Battle of Ohio. Cleveland is staying at home, and I believe they didn't play yesterday. Cleveland just swept Anaheim at home, but I don't think that's really going to have that much of an effect on them. I believe they didn't play yesterday, right? No, and Cincinnati did. So Cincinnati played in Cincinnati, but that's not really a bad travel spot. They're starting a road trip. Usually that is a focus spot. I think you will get focused out of Cincinnati here. I don't think they're as good as their record looks, though, but they're only traveling across the state of Ohio here. They did win 15-1 yesterday, though, so that's pretty satisfying. And generally, I'd want to look to fade a team that just won 15-1. Maybe not in this spot, but Cleveland does have the rest advantage here. They're staying at home. Cincinnati used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. Cleveland's bullpen is rested. Cleveland has the better of the 2 bullpens as well. They're ranked 11th in bullpen here. The Reds are 28th. Pretty bad. Cleveland, their offense is not that good, but neither are the Reds. Cleveland 22nd, the Reds 18th. So these teams have not hit particularly well this year, and Cleveland is a more pitcher-friendly ballpark than Cincinnati is. Andrew Abbott is pitching for Cincinnati. He hasn't had a good season, but if you look at his overall career numbers, like I said, I thought that his numbers were going to get better this season because his career numbers are better than what we've seen so far, and he is actually pitching better over his last couple starts. He's got a 4.47 ERA, 1.51 whip. That is not good, obviously, but he's actually been good on the road, 2.87 road ERA. Cincinnati does have a hitter-friendly ballpark, although he hasn't been bad at home throughout his career either so far, so I don't know what the deal is, but this season he is better on the road. He is pitching better. This month, he hasn't even allowed a run. And he faced the Cubs and Houston, and those are offenses that could definitely score. So he's shut them out, and he actually had a good outing against Colorado the start before that, too. So his last 3 starts have actually been pretty good, except that he walked 4 guys against the Cubs. But he does look like he's in pretty good form right now, for the most part. He doesn't strike out a ton of guys. His overall numbers don't look very good. 33 strikeouts, 20 walks. That ratio's bad in 46 and a third innings. He's got to get the walk number down. 50 hits allowed is also pretty bad. But again, he's been better over his last 3 starts. The number of hits he's allowed has gone down. The number of walks has pretty much gone down as well. So he looks like he is coming into form here. Cleveland is not the greatest offense, and he has been good against them in the past. 48 at-bats, 10 strikeouts, 3 walks, 208 batting average allowed, 505 OPS. So I'm going to lean towards Abbott actually pitching fairly well in this game. That would be what I think is going to happen. Tanner Bybee is pitching for Cleveland. He hasn't had the greatest numbers this season, although they're not horrible numbers. 4.17 ERA, 1.35 whip. He's been really good at home, 1.63 home ERA compared to an ERA over 8 on the road. Really, really crazy home road splits there. He was really good at home last time out against Minnesota. Really, recently, he's only had 1 bad start. Like in his last 5 starts, he's only made 1 bad one, which was at Kansas City. And even that one looks like he got a little bit unlucky. He gave up 5 hits, 2 walks in 4 innings, 4 runs scored against him. That's not great, obviously, but it could be a lot worse, especially given how many guys he put on base. Now, Bybee, Cleveland has not won a start of his since his first start of the season against Seattle. So Cleveland is not winning games behind him, but a lot of it is they're not giving him any run support because he's been decent enough that obviously he should have some wins in here. So it's not all his fault, especially recently. He is actually pitching well. His numbers against Cincinnati are not good, though. In 59 at-bats, 322 batting average allowed, 789 OPS, 16-4 strikeout walk ratio is good, but the rest of these numbers are bad. It's, I think I'll lean Cincinnati here, even though I know they played yesterday. Cleveland didn't. I don't think the travel spot is that bad for Cincinnati, and starting a road trip usually is a focus spot. Abbott, again, he's regaining form currently. He has the matchup advantage here, I think. Maybe first 5, though, for Cincinnati makes more sense because Cleveland does have the better bullpen and they're rested. So I think first 5 Cincinnati is actually probably the way to play this, and then just get the bullpens out of the equation because Cleveland does have a bullpen edge here. 54% of tickets, 72% of the cash on Cincinnati. Cleveland is at minus 140, basically. So you're getting Cincinnati as an underdog, which I think is also part of the reason why the money's coming in on them, because I think basically this game is being seen as like kind of a toss-up by the professionals. So you're getting, an underdog price here. It kind of makes sense in that regard. The total's fairly low. It's at 8. It looks like it has gone up a little bit. Money is coming in on the over. I don't know if I necessarily agree. I can imagine a scenario where both pitchers actually do okay here. I wouldn't want to bank on that. Bybee, bad matchup numbers. But both pitchers have been in pretty decent form recently, other than one bad start from Bybee 2 starts ago. And he is way better at home. So I could definitely see arguments for the first 5 under in this one. I would not want to go full game under, though. All right. But, I think Cincinnati first 5 is probably my preference there. Miami at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is returning home from a road trip. They were in Boston and Toronto, so they're returning from the north. So it's not really a good spot. And they did lose a win streak by losing to Toronto in their last game. So that could hang you over sometimes. It was only a 3-game win streak, though. But, Tampa Bay is going to have a bit of a target on their back, man, because they have a good record right now. They have the best record in the American League. They're not the best team in the American League, though. I'll tell you that right now. Obviously, the Yankees are. I don't even think it's close. The American League is horrible. Tampa Bay, they're not as good as their record looks. They're winning a lot of close games. So there is going to be some regression here. This is not a good spot here for Tampa Bay. They did not play yesterday, though. They had yesterday off, so they at least do have some rest here. Miami did play, so Miami has a rest disadvantage. Miami was in Minnesota, so Miami is returning to Florida from Minnesota, even though they're not returning home here. They're coming down from Minnesota. They kind of got embarrassed in that Minnesota series, though. They won the game where we actually played Miami, though. That's all that matters, man. And then yesterday they got obliterated 9-1. I think Miami's a little bit better than the record looks right now, though, and they're continuing a road trip. I think the spot is better for Miami, even though they're at a rest disadvantage. I don't like these teams returning home from road trips. I think that Tampa Bay is a little bit overrated based on their record here. Miami, they did use a lot of relief pitchers yesterday, though, so Tampa Bay has a rested bullpen. Miami used 4 relief pitchers. Miami has the number 3 bullpen right now, so they have a good bullpen. Tampa Bay is 12th, but Tampa Bay has been pitching better out of the bullpen recently, and they have a rest edge in the bullpen, so I think these bullpens are pretty close coming into this game. Tampa Bay has had the better hitting. They're at 16th. Miami's 20th. But I still kind of like Miami here, especially because when you look at the starting pitching matchup, I think that is an advantage to Miami here. Jansen Junk, our favorite, even though we lost that game that we tried to play on Miami with him starting not too long ago because they got no runs behind him. Junk was good in that game. He's been good all season pretty much. 3.25 ERA, 1.11 whip. He's been pretty good both home and away. It doesn't really matter. Very insignificant splits there. He's continuing to pitch well, even though he gave up 4 runs against Washington. He went 6 innings, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks, 7 hits allowed. That's not a bad pitching line there at all. In fact, he's been pretty much good all season. He's allowed no more than 4 earned runs in any outing. Really just kind of one bad-ish outing against Detroit, I would say, was kind of his worst outing there. Yeah, he's been good overall. 33-10 strikeout walk ratio. 39 hits allowed in 44 and a third innings. Not a huge strikeout rate, but he's not putting guys on base, so he's definitely succeeding in that regard. And this month, over his last 2 starts, he's got a 12-2 strikeout walk ratio, and it becomes 18-4 if you go back over his last 4 starts. So he's in good form right now. Against Tampa Bay, they basically haven't seen him. Only Fortes and Mullins have seen him before, and they're 0 for 5 against him with a strikeout. So Junk has the unfamiliarity edge here, and he's pitched well against a couple guys that have faced him before. Jesse Schultens is pitching for Tampa Bay. His numbers do look good this year, but I don't trust him, man. 3.29 ERA, 1.17 whip. A lot of that has been pitching out of the bullpen, though. He hasn't been good at home. 4.08 home ERA, so you could definitely fade him at home. Really, he hasn't done much that looks that good to me. I mean, I'm surprised his numbers look this good because if you look at his last 4 outings when they kind of started converting him into a starter, it's not really good. He only went 5 innings in one of them. The number of runs he's allowed doesn't look that good to me. He's had 7 walks over that span. Although, 14 strikeouts it looks like, but still, that's a lot of walks. Just overall, these numbers don't really look that good to me. And 17 hits allowed over that span as well in whatever that is. I think it's fewer than 1 hit per inning, though, but not by much. Overall, he's got 21 strikeouts, 10 walks, 22 hits allowed in 27 and a third innings. That's not bad, but I don't trust him. Actually, I think they've tried to kind of make him a starter for most of the season, but yeah, I don't know. Just his numbers do not impress me. And looking at his pitching lines here, I'm shocked that his overall numbers, ERA and whip-wise, look as good as they do. I don't think he's that good. Miami, I don't think has really seen him much, though. Yeah, Miami only has 2 guys who have faced him, Morel and Ruiz, and they're 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts off him. So that's kind of where the concern comes in. But I lean Miami in this game, but they are at a rest disadvantage here. Their bullpen is unrested, even though they generally have a really good bullpen. Money is agreeing with me on Miami on that one. 64% of tickets and 54% of the cash on Tampa Bay. So I think the money is agreeing with Miami. You're getting them as an underdog here. Tampa Bay is around minus 120 at a lot of these books here. So you get Miami as a dog. You could take Miami first 5 if you want to remove the bullpen rest disadvantage that they have here. So that somewhat makes sense to me as well in that game. But yeah, I mean, that's a game I don't want to touch it. All right, we have Apple TV. Does have Toronto and Detroit, by the way, for some reason. But they also are going to be airing New York, New York. The Subway Series, Yankees, Mets. And the National League has dominated Interleague so far, but yeah, the Yankees are clearly better than the Mets, okay? The Mets have won 3 in a row. The Mets just swept Detroit. Of course, Detroit, has a lot of problems right now in their starting pitcher rotation. Skubal might miss the entire season, Detroit, yeah, they're kind of dead. Dead Detroit. Mets, they're not going to overlook the Yankees, though. The Mets, I think they're going to show up for this series. They're staying at home. The Yankees, I believe, the Yankees were in Baltimore, but they're technically still on the road, but I think this is kind of a return home spot. You know what I mean? Because you're returning to New York City, so you're going to be going home. You know what I mean? You're back in your home city, so obviously these guys are going to be going back to their homes. So it is a return home spot, even though technically on the schedule it isn't. So I think the distractions for the Yankees could be a little bit of an issue here, but they might remain focused because they have lost 4 of their last 5 games. So that might keep them focused. They got shut out in their last game, so that might have them focused as well. It is, it's always a big series, Yankees-Mets, the big rivalry, so maybe that will keep them focused enough here. But, the way that I'm going to attack this game is it kind of in line with the hitting being distracted, though, because I like this game to go under. This one almost made my card. The bullpens that we're dealing with here are not that bad. The Yankees were off yesterday, by the way, so the Yankees are rested as well, which I think can cool off the hitting even more. It can help the bullpen because the bullpen's rested. The Yankees are the 9th-ranked bullpen this year, so they got rid of their bad relief pitchers they had last year. The Mets are right behind them, 10th, even though the Mets did play yesterday. But the Mets are staying at home. The Mets only used 2 guys out of the bullpen yesterday, so not really a huge deal there. Both bullpens set up pretty nicely here. Yankees obviously are very good offensively, but maybe they'll be cooled off a little bit coming into this one. They're ranked 3rd. The Mets are ranked dead last, 30th. So the Yankees have the much better offense, but I think this is going to be a pitching duel, and the odds makers think so as well. Cam Schlittler is pitching for the Yankees. Really good numbers, 1.35 ERA, 0.81 whip. He's been almost untouchable on the road, 0.98 road ERA here. Yeah, I mean, he's been good all season. He's allowed no more than 3 earned runs in any outing. 59-9 strikeout walk ratio, 34 hits allowed in 53 1/3 innings. His recent starts have been just as good, if not better. Although his strikeout rate actually did go down a little bit in one of them, but whatever. Yeah, he's pitching really well. His numbers against the Mets, they basically haven't faced him before. Only Bo Bichette has seen him because Bichette was on Toronto, so he was in that division. Bichette is 1 for 4 off him with a double and a strikeout, but I think Schlittler sets up to do well here. He's facing a really weak lineup that hasn't seen him before. Schlittler could definitely come in and dominate in this game. Clay Holmes is pitching on the other side for the Mets. He might get up for this too because he did play for the Yankees for a while. Although he has faced the Yankees since then, I'm pretty sure. But he's been pitching well this year. 1.86 ERA, 1.01 whip. I mean, numbers that are this good, like both these pitchers, these numbers are pretty unsustainable, but they're both good. Holmes has been good at home, 1.47 ERA. He's pitching pretty well recently as well, though his walk number was a little bit higher recently, but still, I mean, he's been good all season. He's allowed no more than 2 earned runs in any outing this entire season, including facing the Dodgers in there. He's faced a couple of pretty good lineups. The Dodgers are the most comparable to the Yankees. He held them to 2 runs in 5 innings. So, and, it wasn't really anything misleading about that. He's got 37 strikeouts, 16 walks in 48 1/3 innings. The strikeout rate's not that high. He's more of a ground ball inducing pitcher, so that's just the way that he pitches. The walks, you'd like to see a little bit lower than that, but not horrible. And 33 hits allowed is really good. He's not been very hittable. His numbers against the Yankees are actually pretty good as well. You know what? I might add this. I know I got in trouble adding an under to my card yesterday, but I kind of want to do this now that I'm digging into this even further. Holmes has good numbers against the Yankees. The only issue is the 747 OPS is slightly high, but it's still below that 750, and he's held them to a 172 batting average in 29 at-bats. So he's done well except for the walks. 10 strikeouts, 7 walks against them. Other than that, his numbers are pretty good against the Yankees. I definitely like the under in this game. The bullpens look like they set up decently here. The rest/return home scenario for the Yankees might cool off their bats a little bit here. Because obviously, I think the Yankees are going to be the team doing more scoring here. Obviously, I think the Yankees are going to win this game. They're about a minus 150 or so favorite here. 71% of tickets, 78% of the cash on the Yankees. Well, not obviously, because it is a return home spot for the Yankees. So I'm not going to do anything with the side in this one. I do think the Mets could actually kind of hang in this game based on the fact that I think it's going to be a pitching duel. It could be close, although, yes, I think the Yankees will win the game because I think they do have I just think Schlittler is too good. I'm probably never going to fade the Yankees when he's on the mound, man. Although I don't want to really play on the Yankees either because I think at this point you're paying a tax on the Yankees, even with him on the mound because people know who he is now. But yes, I like the under. The total's at 7. It looks like you can get a decent price on the 7. Let me look right now. 89% of tickets, 91% of the cash on the under. Money looks like it is agreeing with me on this. If I add another play on the fly, I don't know. It better work out for me this time if it happens. It was the Mets that were the culprit yesterday, too. I did it yesterday with the Mets. The market read looks like it is good on this to me. Let me see. Looking at some of the other sites here, I'm trying to find the best number that we can get on this. The place that starts with a B that's named after the gym actually has a 7.5 at minus 118. All right, I'm going to do it. You can also find under 7 Dude, StreamYard's messing me up right now, man. They're like giving me like random like tips in the middle of the stuff I'm trying to do here. Hold on. This is going to be a best bet. There you go. I'm adding the banner. Yes, this is going to be Mets Yankees under 7.5 at -118. But of course, I found like a good number at that book, and I don't even know if that book is going to let me. That book has been telling me that my my transfers of money in aren't working anymore. So I don't know what's going. Like, you'd think if the book was limiting you, and especially because I'm in Massachusetts, like there's a law in effect, I'm pretty sure as of this month, where the books are required to tell you why they're limiting you, but maybe it's a loophole. They're getting around it by saying, oh no, it's a glitch. You can't put money in anymore. So yeah, fuck that book. That starts with a B, but this is the number there. Otherwise, under 7, you can find it like plus money right now. So I would do that. And, you could definitely find 7s at least out there. It's very abundant there. So yeah, I'll add the under in the Mets game again. Josh, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right, so that's going to be one baseball play there. Oh, man, I got to speed this thing up. Baseball, I hate how long it takes me to get through baseball. This game's going to be quicker to handicap because we have no idea who Milwaukee is starting for their starter here. Milwaukee at Minnesota. Minnesota played yesterday, I believe, against Miami. They're staying at home, so Minnesota doesn't have to travel. But Milwaukee's only coming in from Milwaukee, so that's not a bad travel spot either. Milwaukee's been hot. They've won 6 of their last 7 games, I believe is what that is. They beat San Diego yesterday, so both teams did play yesterday. Milwaukee starting a road trip. A lot of times you will be focused to start the road trip. I think Milwaukee's the better team here, but they're going to have to go up against Minnesota's ace here, and we have no idea who Milwaukee has as a starting pitcher here, like I said. So that kind of makes this game difficult to handicap. Milwaukee used 3 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. Minnesota looks like they didn't use anybody. Wait, did Minnesota not play yesterday? They did. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that. Zebby Matthews actually pitched pretty well. Ridiculous name, by the way. Yeah, I had that game wrong. Braxton Garrett looks like he's not ready to go, apparently. Maybe Zebby is going to be finally good. He has one of the most ridiculous names. Why would he want to be called Zebby, man? I think his name is actually like, I don't know. His name is like something really normal. It starts with a D. It's like Doug or, I don't know, Daniel, something like that. Yeah, I think it's Daniel. But Zebby, his middle name is Zebulon, and his nickname is Zebby for that reason. That's why his name is Zebby. I don't even know what to tell you about that, man. I mean, I'll give you that it's way more unique, you know what I mean? Because if you just go around, oh, yeah, hey, I'm Dan Matthews or whatever the fuck his name is. Yeah, I mean, everybody's named Dave Matthews? What? No, no, but like basically everybody's named that. So maybe he doesn't want to hide. He wants his name to have a little bit of cachet. It's got cachet, baby. I got to remind myself, I got to add that Seinfeld drop when George wants to name his kid 7. If anybody remembers that, that's what I'm going to do. I got to get that as a drop because it's the Mickey Mantle number, man. All right, I'm ranting. I thought I was going to do this game quick. Yes, Minnesota, I know their bullpen's a little bit more rested, but their bullpen is totally unreliable. Minnesota's bullpen is awful. They're 29th. They're second worst. Horrible. The Brewers are ranked 16th. Brewers definitely have the better bullpen, even though I think they did use McGill. They used their closer yesterday, but I still give Milwaukee a bullpen edge here. Minnesota's hit okay this year. They're 13th. The Brewers are 19th. Brewers starting to come around because they're getting some of their hitters back. Joe Ryan, like I said, is pitching for Minnesota here, and ESPN won't fucking load. 3.43 ERA, 1.03 whip. For Joe Ryan. Good stuff, obviously. He's been better at home as well. 2.6 home ERA. Looks pretty good recently, although he had one start where he got injured against Toronto and basically barely even made the start, but he was definitely fine coming back from that. He 2-hit Cleveland for 6 innings, so he did well there, although he walked 3 guys. But I'm not really concerned with Ryan. I think he's fine. 45 strikeouts, 13 walks, 33 hits allowed in 44 and 2/3 innings for Ryan. We know he's good, man. His numbers against the Brewers, I believe, are also good. which is not surprising, obviously. 69 at bats against them, 21-5 strikeout walk ratio. He's got good numbers against them, 203 batting average allowed, 518 OPS. I do not want to fade Joe Ryan here, man. I don't know who Milwaukee's going to put up as the starter. If it's somebody decent, I mean, we could be looking at a potential under in this game, but even if I was going to go under in a Minnesota game, like at all, I would probably go first 5 on it just because their bullpen, I just can't trust it, man. But we don't really have anything to work with here in this game. Minnesota's a very slight favorite. It's basically like a pick the winner. So even with Joe Ryan on the mound, the odds makers are telling you Milwaukee's the better team. Like if Joe Ryan is listed at a pick 'em price, you know that means that Minnesota's team around him sucks. Which is the case, but Ryan might be good enough to keep them in this game, man. But, yeah, I don't have a good read on it. I would like to know who Milwaukee is actually going to start. I guess we can look briefly at what their schedule looks like to try to figure that out. I don't know if somebody's injured or what. So, yeah, Harrison pitched yesterday. Well, we just have to go back, let me see, to this game, which was an extra inning game against the Yankees. Who started this game for Milwaukee? No, that was Harrison. Harrison pitched yesterday. Chad Patrick came in relief, so it might be Chad Patrick, actually, in this game. I don't know when the last time he pitched was. He pitched on the 12th, but he only pitched for 1 inning. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing, man. It looks like it may be a bullpen game for the Brewers, and maybe Patrick will be in the game, but I don't think he's going to get a starter's workload. So, yeah, I have no idea what Milwaukee's doing. All right, the next game is going to be a play for me. Boston, Atlanta. So, another best bet here. We need to get some of these right, man. This game we're also going under. This one you can go under 8 in this game. I like how this sets up, man. I mean, there's maybe some slight concerns with it, but I think I like it. The Red Sox are also just playing a ton of under games. But Atlanta also kind of is. I mean, Atlanta, their last 3 games have gone under this total. And if you go all the way back to the middle game of the series against Seattle, they've had 6 out of the 8 games go under this total. And the only 2 that went over were 9-run games against the Dodgers. So Atlanta's been playing a lot of low-scoring games, even though their offense is good. I think people get thrown off by, oh, this offense is good, that means we should go over. But no, because the Braves' pitching has been good, and the Red Sox offense sucks, so I don't think the Red Sox are going to score much in this game at all. But I think the Red Sox pitching is good enough to also hold up their end of the bargain here. That's what we got going on. Now, the Braves, I think, could be in a letdown spot, or a hangover spot, I mean. The Braves just lost to the Cubs yesterday, 2-0, and that was a big series, and that ended a 4-game win streak for the Braves. So sometimes that will hang you over into the next game. So maybe that's a little bit of an issue. It might affect their hitting a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But, you know, I mean, this is a rivalry series. Are they going to overlook the Red Sox? I don't know. The Red Sox need to do something. The Red Sox are starting a road trip. So I actually think the situation actually does favor the Red Sox slightly here. They're starting a road trip, coming off a loss. They lost 3 of their last 4 games at home. Red Sox got to get something going, man, and it's been their offense. The Red Sox pitching has been fine. The Red Sox last 4 games have all seen 5 or fewer runs scored. So this Red Sox team, both of these teams are trending way under, recently. Red Sox going on the road. Usually, yes, it is a focus spot when you start a road trip, but there's nothing helping the Red Sox offense right now, man. So, yeah. As far as the bullpens, both bullpens are good. Atlanta's ranked number 1. The Red Sox are ranked 6th. So we have bullpens that can definitely hold up their end, even though I know the Red Sox used too many guys in relief yesterday, but a lot of them didn't throw that many pitches. So I think they might use some of them again. Yes, they used 5 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. They did not use Chapman yesterday, though. Although Weissert hasn't been used for a while, that worries me because he sucks. I don't want him to come in, but, they might use him today. But they might be able to use some of the guys that they used yesterday. Not Slayton, though, because he's pitched 2 days in a row. Samaniego might pitch again today, though. But anyway, whatever. I'm still okay with factoring in the Red Sox bullpen here. Plus, Atlanta's bullpen is more rested. And they used Ronaldo Lopez and Bummer out of the bullpen. So they didn't use anybody good out of the bullpen yesterday. So, Atlanta's bullpen does set up well here, better than the Red Sox. And they're the better bullpen anyway. Yes, Atlanta's number 1 in hitting, but the Red Sox are 27th. And again, I think good pitching can counter good hitting here. Connolly early is getting the start for the Red Sox. I think he's pretty solid, man. 3.16 ERA, 1.22 whip. He's been better on the road. Take him away from Fenway, where it's a hitter-friendly ballpark. He's got a 2.01 road ERA, so he's been good on the road. He just pitched a shutout for 7 innings against Tampa Bay, so he bounced back into form after a bad start against Houston. That start against Houston looks like an outlier because most of his other starts this season, except he was a little bit shaky against the Yankees, the rest of these starts were good. And while, yes, I know that does mean he hasn't done well against the best offenses he's faced, Yankees and Houston, so that might mean he might not pitch well here against Atlanta, but Atlanta's never seen him before, so I think he might be able to do well enough to hold this game under. His strikeout walk ratio is a little bit concerning. 39 strikeouts, 18 walks. He's got to get that walk number down. 34 hits allowed in 42 2/3 innings is pretty good, though. He's been tough to hit. His strikeout rate's decent. Again, the walk number has actually gone down recently, though. He's walked 1 in each of 2 of his last 3 outings, so that's a decent sign. He's gaining his form a little bit, gaining control a little bit. And again, the Braves have never faced him, so that's usually an advantage to these young pitchers when they haven't been seen before. So I think he'll do well enough. We are going to have to rely on Spencer Strider here, though, and we still don't really know if he's fully back from injury, but I'm going to argue that he is based on what we saw out of him from his last outing. Strider was really good before he had his injury, man. And then, he tried to come back from injury. Didn't do that well last year, really, but, he's shown signs of maybe getting back to somewhere where he once was. And he might be doing it right now. This season, he's got a 2.89 ERA, 1.29 whip. It's only in 2 starts. But look at what he did in his last start, man. On the road against the Dodgers, he one-hit them, shut them out for 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, 2 walks. That pretty much indicates to me that he's fully back, man. If he's going to do that against one of the best offenses in baseball, granted, the Dodgers have not been hitting well recently, but still, that is a much more encouraging sign than Strider struggling in his first outing, which was at Coors Field. He was wild in that one. But the fact that he dominated the Dodgers on the road, that's pretty good to me. This is going to be his first home start of the season. I don't know what his home splits looked like last year, by the way. They were not very significant. He was actually a little bit worse at home, but it wasn't by a huge amount. Strider against the Red Sox, they haven't seen too much of him. They only have 4 hitters who have faced him, 11 at-bats. They have 2 strikeouts, no walks against him, a 273 average, 545 OPS. So Strider has some unfamiliarity here. Red Sox, when they have seen him, they haven't really done that well against him. So under is my call in this one. The money looks very, very similar to what it looks like in the Yankees-Mets game. I know it looks like there's kind of a lot of public action on it. These numbers are moving around a lot, but it looks like the actual money is kind of there as well. Though in this one, we see 94% of tickets, 90% of the cash. But the public is not coming in and playing an under in this game, man. I just don't think they're doing that. So that's what we're going to do, under in this one. Totals at 8, like I said, so it's a reasonable number in this game. Money looks like it's indicating on the Red Sox, and what that indicates to me is that the professional money thinks that early will do well enough in this game. And I like that, as far as the under is concerned, you can kind of gauge some things by looking at where the money on the side is. Because if the money is backing the pitcher that you think is a little bit less proven, you know what I mean? That's a good sign that it seems like maybe an under is actually the right way to look at the total here. 87% of tickets, 78% of the cash on Atlanta. The feeling might just be that Atlanta shouldn't be favored this heavily, though. And minus 150 basically is what they are. It's not that heavy of a price, though. But, I think the pitching wins out in that game. All right. The other Subway Series, Chicago, Cubs at White Sox. The White Sox have won 5 games in a row. They're above 500, and I am pretty sure that if the playoffs started right now, the White Sox would make the playoffs. That's how bad the American League is, by the way. I'm pretty certain that the White Sox would be a wild card. I'm looking at the wild card standings here, though. It's not actually showing me anything. I guess ESPN doesn't do that yet. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'm right about that, but whatever. Anyway, pretty ridiculous. The Cubs are good, though. We know this, and the National League is good. But the White Sox, even though they're on a hot streak right now, they just swept the Royals, which is pretty big for them, especially with the White Sox being so bad recently. They're not going to overlook the Cubs, though, man. The Cubs might be more likely to overlook the White Sox, except for the fact that the Cubs just ended a 4-game losing streak by beating the Braves. You could argue it's a letdown spot, but you could also make the argument that they ended a losing streak, and when teams do that, a lot of times that gives them new momentum, and they go on a win streak, you know what I mean? Because you just ended that losing streak. The Cubs are overall the better team here, though. There's obviously, I think, no question about that, especially the bullpen. Although the Cubs used 4 relief pitchers yesterday, so their bullpen isn't terribly rested. The White Sox used 2, but I still give the Cubs the bullpen edge. They're ranked 7th in bullpen. The White Sox are 22nd, so there is a bullpen edge still for the Cubs here. Cubs have the better offense. They're ranked 5th, but the White Sox are up to 9th, believe it or not. This White Sox team, Murakami, man, the White Sox have been hitting. Edward Cabrera might be able to slow that thing down, though. Cabrera is pitching for the Cubs here. He's been pretty good, except that his whip is too high, though. 3.88 ERA, 1.32 whip. He's been worse on the road, though. 4.41 road ERA so far. His last outing at Texas, a little bit concerning that he gave up 2 home runs in Texas, 5 runs allowed there, because that's a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. But he had 6 strikeouts and 1 walk in that outing, so his command was still good. Over his last few starts, his command has actually been excellent. He's got 26 strikeouts and 4 walks over his last 4 outings. So even though that Texas start wasn't great, I think he is still in good form right now. Overall, 43-15 strikeout walk ratio. Again, you'd like to see those walks go down. Usually his strikeout rate, I think, is a little bit higher than that. 46 in a third innings, 46 hits allowed. But yeah, his last 4 starts, his strikeout walk ratio has been really good. So he is in good form right now. Granted, he was facing some pretty weak offenses, although I'm still not ready to say the White Sox are this elite offense, though. And they really haven't seen much of Cabrera because he's in the National League, and that's where he's been for his whole career, mostly with the Marlins. White Sox only have 7 at-bats against him. 3 hitters have faced him, and they're 0 for 7 with a strikeout and a walk against him. So I do think Cabrera can do well here, and I think he has the matchup edge over Sean Burke, even though Burke is pitching well for the White Sox this year. 3.68 ERA, 1.09 whip. This White Sox pitching rotation is not too bad right now, considering that he's in there. If Shane Smith actually comes back and starts pitching better again, Schultz might actually be decent. I don't know, man. But Burke has actually probably been their best starter. He hasn't been as good at home, though. 4.18 ERA at home. Didn't pitch well in his last outing at home against Seattle. Not a great sign that he gave up 6 earned runs in that game in 4 1/3. Had 4 strikeouts, 2 walks. It's a little concerning, but he's only allowed more than 2 earned runs twice this season. Both those games at home, though. So his 2 worst starts have come at home, so he is more worrisome at home. His overall numbers look pretty good. 36 strikeouts, 10 walks, 38 hits allowed in 44 innings. Not a high strikeout rate, but all the rest of the numbers do look pretty good. He's had command. He hasn't been that hittable, But the Cubs are a tough task, and they have hit him well in the past. Decently. In 41 at-bats, 268 average, 772 OPS. So the OPS is fairly high. So they've hit him for a lot of extra base hits. They have 14 strikeouts, 4 walks against him. But the extra base hits have gotten to him a little bit. Still, though, I don't know. I think I do lean to the Cubs slightly here. The Cubs are obviously favored, though. They're at minus 142, somewhere in that range here. They look like they're getting the money and the public attention. 61% of tickets, 62% of the cash on the Cubs. I mean, it is a little bit of a price to lay, though, and it is possible that both pitchers do pitch well here. I'm going to slightly lean to the Cubs here, but I think it is a big series for the White Sox. Burke, I mean, his numbers against the Cubs aren't awful, and most of those numbers were accumulated when Burke wasn't as good as he is this year, you know what I mean? Burke has been better this year. It is concerning, though, that he's not as good at home, so that worries me. Otherwise, I could definitely see some arguments for the under in the first 5. I would not go full game under here because the White Sox bullpen is just not trustworthy enough. But first 5 under, I could see some arguments for it, that this could be a pitching duel here. But I worry a little bit, Burke. I think both pitchers actually don't have good home road splits for it, so I don't love that. Burke is not that good at home, and his last start wasn't good, so I don't know if that's going to mean that he's trending in the wrong direction right now, that he's going out of form right now. Remains to be seen. So I'm not going to play the game. Texas at Houston, not an interleague rivalry, but a rivalry, a geographic rivalry, a divisional rivalry. Houston's been playing bad. I mean, their pitching is probably the worst in baseball. They're awful, dude, pitching-wise. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games. They are staying at home here. I believe they played yesterday. Yeah, they lost to Seattle again yesterday. Texas coming in with a day off, I believe. Texas played at home against Arizona. They've won 4 of the last 5 games. Texas is staying in the state of Texas and have a day off. So Texas does have an advantage here in that they do have rest and they're not really traveling that far, even though Houston is staying at home. Houston, the fact that they have a rest disadvantage and their bullpen is terrible is not good, although they only used Bolton out of the bullpen yesterday. So their bullpen is rested, but their bullpen is still horrible. Worst in baseball, 30th. They haven't moved out of that spot basically all year. Really, really bad. Texas has a very good bullpen. They're 8th right now, but they're one of the best ERAs. Yeah, there's a huge bullpen advantage to Texas here. Houston is 4th in offense, though, and Texas is 26th. So Houston is the better offense. Jack Leiter is going to get the start for Texas here. He's been mediocre-ish. 4.85 ERA, 1.43 whip. Those numbers, generally, I would say those numbers are bad. But when you dig into like his kind of underlying numbers, he hasn't been quite that bad. He's been bad on the road, though. He pitches well at home in that pitcher-friendly environment. And on the road, 6.14 ERA, so I would not want to back him on the road, really. He walked 5 guys in his last out, even though he actually shut out the Cubs for 4 2/3 innings, but he didn't go deep into the game, threw way too many pitches, and he walked 5 guys. That's concerning. Although he's had a high strikeout rate recently, 16 strikeouts over his last 11 1/3 innings. But he's given up too many runs, too many hits. I don't know, man. Overall, 49-18 strikeout walk ratio this season. That's tolerable. That's not too bad. 43 hits allowed in 42 2/3 innings. It's a few too many walks, a few too many hits, but it's really not that bad. So overall, I don't think Leiter is that bad, but I don't like him on the road. His numbers are still not great. Houston might be able to hit him here. Houston has seen him before, but Houston hasn't done well against him, though. 34 at-bats, 9.7 strikeout walk ratios, way too many walks, of course, but a 147 batting average, 528 OPS. Leiter has kind of stifled Houston, so Leiter actually does have a decent matchup here against them, and he will be opposed by Spencer Arrighetti, who has some of the best hair out there. I'll give him that. Arrighetti has a really nice 1.88 ERA, but his 1.33 whip tells you this ERA should be around 4. Dude, don't buy into that ERA. You can't put that many guys on base and have an ERA that low. You can't sustain it, you know what I mean? Arrighetti's been good at home, though. 1.38 home ERA. Hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in any of his outings. And even though he pitches for Houston, who has a horrible bullpen, their offense has backed him up fairly decently. They've won 4 of his 5 outings. But his walks are definitely an issue, man. 30 strikeouts, 17 walks in 28 2/3 innings. That is way too many walks. And 21 hits allowed. So, yeah, he's got to get that walk number down. He's walked 3 or more in all but 1 outing. That's not good. So even though he's been very difficult to hit, he's definitely got good stuff. He can strike guys out. He's got to stop walking people. His numbers against Texas are not good, although it's a very small 7 at-bat sample size. They got 2 hits. One is a home run from Danny Jansen. 1 strikeout, 3 walks. So they have a 286 average against him, 12-14 OPS against him. So he might actually get hit here. I don't know, man. Texas certainly has the bullpen edge. The money looks like it's indicating towards Texas. We got 77% of tickets, 63% of the cash on Houston. Houston's right around a pick'em price at around -110. The money is fading them. I don't like Leiter on the road, man. I can see the argument for it. Arrighetti is going to regress a little bit, and Leiter is probably a little bit better than his numbers look. I like Texas's bullpen, of course, a lot better, so there is that argument to be made. If you're going to go Texas here, you definitely want to go full game and take advantage of Texas's bullpen. I probably do actually agree with that and lean that way, but it's definitely not a strong opinion from me. I don't have a good read on the game because I could see Leiter pitching well or I could see him not pitching well. Really difficult to figure out. And by the way, I'm going to take a break, come back, finish the rest of this. I have one more play. Before I do that, Detroit has announced a pitching change. Detroit is now going to be going with Hanafy. What is his name? Brendan Hanafy? I forget that just sounds very Irish to me. Brendan Hanafy, I don't know. Whatever his name is. He's going to be the opener for Detroit here. So he might be pitching in front of Madden. It still might be Madden coming in after Hanafy. You know what I mean? Hanafy might go 1 inning, and then you're going to still get Madden after that. But what I forgot to mention was because we've seen that Madden has not actually made the start in his other appearances. I was going to say, if you want to play this game, you should an action bet. Just so if Detroit announced an opener in front of Madden, it would still count, and you're still basically assuming that Madden is still going to give you like 4 or 5 innings in the game. You know what I mean? Like putting an opener in front of him doesn't change the handicap that much because he's not Brian Bayo, who becomes a completely different pitcher when he's not the starter, and he starts pitching in the 2nd inning. But anyway, yeah, everything I said about that handicap still pretty much applies, though. But it's just, this is the way you got to attack baseball, especially modern baseball. That is the reason that you would want to go with an action bet in baseball instead of what the normal bet is the normal bet that you make in baseball. I think the default is that the listed starting pitchers must start, and usually you do want that to be the case because if you have a game where, say you have Skubal pitching, and that's like a huge part of your handicap. You don't want Detroit to announce, oh, yeah, he's actually not pitching. Obviously, that completely changes the handicap. So you definitely do not want your bet to actually happen if that's the case. So that's why you do that. But in a case like this where you know that it's going to be Madden probably giving you 5 innings in that game, except that it might be behind an opener that goes 1 inning in front of him, and you don't know if it's going to be the opener or not, that's the reason to make an action bet there. Or, in this undecided matchup here, if you think you really have some sort of edge that you're keying on here, oh, Joe Ryan's going to be able to beat whoever Milwaukee's putting out there, you know what I mean? Like, then, okay, that would make sense. Then you would make an action bet there as well. I think that books might actually allow you to do Joe Ryan must start the game, but you don't care who starts the other side of it. I think you're actually allowed to do that too. Baseball is very, very weird, man. All right, I'm going to be right back and then finish this off. All right. Zoom back in here. Whoops. All right. Next game up is Kansas City and St. Louis, the Battle of Missouri here. St. Louis is returning home from a road trip. They went out to the Pacific Coast, San Diego, and the A's. So it's not a good spot. They're traveling across multiple time zones. They're returning home. As I always talk about, negative spot. You have to get back to home life. You got stuff to do. They actually played yesterday, too, so they have no days off. Both teams actually did play yesterday, but the situation's better for Kansas City because they're staying in the area. They're only coming in from Chicago. Much, much easier travel spot for them. They've lost 4 games in a row, so this could be a bounce-back spot for Kansas City as well. So the situation heavily favors Kansas City here, in my opinion. So then I started looking at this thinking, I'm going to play Kansas City here. The more I looked into it, the matchup numbers just don't really, the matchup numbers keep me away from it, man. Now, both bullpens are bad. Kansas City used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. St. Louis used 4. I think that's fine if you're looking at Kansas City here, even though they're the 26th ranked bullpen. St. Louis is not better, really. They're ranked 23rd, and their ERA is higher, so it's hard to gauge which one is even better. Hitting-wise, Kansas City has moved up to 14th. St. Louis is 12th. St. Louis has hit a little bit better than Kansas City. Michael Wacha, I looked at this starting pitching. I'm like, yeah, I definitely like Wacha over May. But then I looked into this a little bit more, and I just can't do it, man. Even though Wacha's been good for the Royals, 2.63 ERA, 0.99 whip. He has the exact same home and road ERA, so the splits are very insignificant. He's pitched really well this month. 2 7-inning outings, only allowing 2 combined runs, 9 strikeouts, 3 walks. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys, but he's definitely in good form right now. He's got overall 42 strikeouts, 17 walks, only 34 hits allowed in 51 1/3 innings. So even though he doesn't throw hard, he's still very difficult to hit. He's an interesting pitcher, man. I mean, he's been around for forever, and he's been an effective pitcher. So, but his numbers against St. Louis is where I start losing this thing. He does not have good numbers against St. Louis. In 32 at-bats, 312 batting average, 802 OPS. I know it's not a huge sample, but it's big enough that it does worry me. 6 strikeouts, 1 walk. So I was looking at Kansas City pretty heavily. I think Kansas City might have the best situation out of any of the situational setups today. I think the situational edge that Kansas City has is very, very good. But the starting pitching matchup is actually keeping me off of the game. Dustin May, he's pitching for the Cardinals. His numbers don't look good this year. 4.85 ERA, 1.43 whip. Basically, he hasn't been good since his injury and surgery, except this season he had 2 bad starts to start the season. He's actually been good since then. So that's what also concerns me about this. He's also better at home here, 4.5 ERA. It's easier to pitch in St. Louis Stadium, but look at what he's done since his first 2 starts where he got hammered by Tampa Bay and Detroit. He pitched against the Red Sox and then fixed everything, and since then he's allowed no more than 3 earned runs in any outing, and that was an outing against the Dodgers. So he's been good basically since early April. So I don't really want to fade May here. He's got a 32-11 strikeout walk ratio. That's not bad. Not a high strikeout rate, though, so it does look like his strikeout stuff is not there. And he's allowed 50 hits in 42 2/3 innings, but a lot of that happened in those first 2 starts that were really bad. He's been much, much better since then, so May's in much better form. I believe he has decent numbers against the Royals as well. They have 26 at-bats against him. Not a huge sample. Actually, his numbers are not good. My mistake. 269 batting average, 821 OPS allowed. So May is kind of fadeable here, but I worry about Wacha's numbers, man. So I'm going to lean Kansas City. I think the situation is pretty strong, but the money's actually disagreeing. 57% of tickets, 51% of the cash on Kansas City. That worries me. It's basically a pick 'em price here. Pick the winner price. The other thing about St. Louis is I still don't think they're as good as their record looks, So, yes, the situation heavily favors Kansas City. I think generally I do like Wacha better than May. I just don't like Wacha's matchup numbers against St. Louis, and that's just why I'm leaving it off the card here. But I like Kansas City in that game. All right, Arizona at Colorado. Colorado is returning home from a road trip as well. They're coming home from Pennsylvania. They just played in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. So not a great spot, returning home from the road trip, although it is a divisional matchup here in this case, which maybe they won't overlook that. Arizona, this sets up better for them because they're in the middle of a road trip and they're coming in from Texas. But the one bad thing about that is you're going from a very pitcher-friendly stadium in Arlington, although the last two games both went over, even though that park has had like a ridiculous amount of unders happen in that park. Arizona is going from a very pitcher-friendly park now to a very hitter-friendly park in Coors Field. So making that transition could hurt your pitching a little bit. So that is worrisome. As far as Arizona, their bullpen, they didn't use anybody. I think Arizona was off yesterday, actually. So Arizona has a rest edge. They were off yesterday, and Colorado's returning home from a road trip, which can lead to distractions. Like I said, Colorado used 4 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. So I will give Arizona a bullpen edge here. They're ranked number 2 in bullpen whip, even though their ERA is still in the 4s. I still don't like their bullpen much, but I will give them an advantage here. The Rockies are 17th. Their ERA is actually right around the same as Arizona's, but the Rockies also are way more unrested, so I will give Arizona a bullpen edge here. Rockies have actually been the better hitting team. They're ranked 10th in offense, and the Dbacks are 24th. Colorado is better at hitting at home as well. They're going to go up against Merrill Kelly, and I don't know what's wrong with Merrill Kelly right now, man. I don't know if maybe he's just fallen off a cliff at 37 and he's going to have to retire. I have no idea because he was pretty decent with the Rangers last year. He's back with the Diamondbacks, and he has been very bad. 7.62 ERA, 1.92 whip. This is not good. He's been worse on the road as well, 7.98 road ERA. Even though the Arizona ballpark is pretty hitter-friendly, but so is Coors Field here. Kelly was pretty good in his last outing, though, but it was against the Mets. We know the Mets offense has had major struggles this year. He 3-hit, 1-run them through 7 innings. That's good, but he did walk 3 guys. That's not good. Is that a sign that he's finally coming around and coming into form? It might be, because he started the season on a delay because he was injured. He pitched all right in his first outing, kind of, and then he was really bad for 3 starts in a row against the White Sox, the Brewers, and the Cubs. Not the easiest lineups to face. So I don't know what we're going to get out of Kelly here, man. His overall numbers are still very concerning. 20-18 strikeout walk ratio. I mean, you cannot do that and pitch effectively. 32 hits allowed in 26 innings. I can't jump on board, even though it is a bad spot for Colorado. I can't come in and play on Kelly here right now. I can't do it. I'm looking at his numbers against his own team. That's not what I want. How is he going to do in BP? Against Colorado, he's got okay numbers in 72 at-bats. 26-3 strikeout walk ratio is really good. 264 batting average allowed, 738 OPS. Those are pretty mediocre numbers there. He's just been so bad this year. I just can't get on board with it. Kyle Freeland is pitching for the Rockies. He's starting to pitch pretty poorly as well. He's got a 6 ERA now, 1.47 whip. That's not good. He's actually been a little bit better at home, although his home road splits are pretty insignificant. So, he's been really, really bad in his last 2 starts. Really, his last 3 haven't gone that well. He was pitching pretty well for a bit, but his last couple of starts, really, really bad. He's got an 11.57 ERA this month, 18 hits allowed in 9 1/3 innings, and 5 home runs allowed. And one of those 2 starts was on the road. That's bad, dude. Like, he is definitely starting to give it up big time here. Although he has an 11-3 strikeout walk ratio over that span. So his strikeout rate is still good. His command numbers are still good. 28-8 strikeout walk ratio over the course of the season. 36 hits allowed in 30 innings is bad, though. And he's now allowed 7 home runs. But, he's been really not doing well over his last couple outings. Granted, the one at home was against the Braves. But, he wasn't good on the road against Philly either. I wouldn't trust him at all the way that he's pitching right now. His numbers against Arizona are really bad as well. And 102 at-bats, 14 strikeouts, 15 walks. More walks than strikeouts, that's not going to cut it anywhere. 343 batting average allowed, 1,045 OPS. That's not good. I all of that, being taken into account, I think I will lean Arizona here. The money's coming in on Colorado. There's no way I would do that in a return home spot, and Arizona is rested, better situation. I do actually think Kelly, you can make the argument he's coming into form while Freeland is going out of form, and Kelly does still have the better matchup numbers here, and I think has had the better career. He definitely has. He's much older, though. He's got, Arizona's around minus 120 here. Money is coming in on Colorado, though. 72% of tickets on Arizona, 72% of the cash on Colorado. Do with that information what you want. The total in this game is very high at 11.5. It's probably justified. You got two pitchers that really haven't done well this season. The money is coming in towards the over. I don't really trust the two bullpens here. I don't think I necessarily want to play an over here. Arizona, they're hitting, having a day of rest that might cool them off a little bit. I don't know. Arizona's bullpen could actually maybe perform okay here. So I'm not going to do anything with the total. I'd lean slightly towards Arizona, though. LA, or Dodgers at Anaheim. Anaheim is returning home from a road trip. They lost 5 out of 6 games on the road trip. They just got swept by Cleveland. They had yesterday off, so Anaheim does have a day of rest, and the Dodgers do not. The Dodgers played yesterday, but the Dodgers were at home, and they're only going from LA to Anaheim, so not a bad travel spot for the Dodgers here. The return home spot for Anaheim coming in from Cleveland. They're traveling multiple time zones here, returning home. You're not going to overlook the Dodgers. That will help alleviate the distraction situation, but it is still a distraction situation, returning home from the road. You know what I mean? It's just not the worst possible situation. The worst possible situation, but it's not good. I'm still not going to want to play on a team returning home like that. The Dodgers are in the better spot. Like I said, they were just at home against San Francisco. They won the last 2 games, ending a 4-game losing streak. They got a little bit of momentum coming into this one. Possible they overlook Anaheim, though, because Anaheim hasn't played well. So I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. Dodgers are the way better team, basically all around, though. Even though Anaheim does have a rested bullpen, Dodgers used 3 guys out of the bullpen yesterday. Anaheim's bullpen is bad. They're ranked 27th. They have one of the worst ERAs as well. The Dodgers' bullpen's been pretty strong. They're at 4th. So there is a bullpen edge for the Dodgers, even though they did use some guys yesterday. Dodgers are ranked 2 offensively right now. Anaheim is 16th. Dodgers do have the better offense, even though they've been not playing Ohtani in the lineup every day, though. Trying to focus on his pitching, and he's been a dominant pitcher. It's crazy. This game here, Blake Snell is going to be pitching. I know his numbers look really bad. A 12 ERA, 2.67 whip. But the same thing happened last year, man. We've seen this over and over again. He only made 1 start, and it was against the Braves. We know the Braves hit pretty well. Snell was still trying to get his footing. It was his first start of the season, coming back from injury again. And he did the same thing last year. Look at what he did last year. Well, actually, it was his 2nd and 3rd starts weren't really that good. One of them was against the Braves, by the way, at home. So it's almost deja vu. So, last year he struggled a little bit to get back into it. Then once he did, he was good for the most part. He's still a good pitcher, man. He's still not that old at 33. So, obviously, I expect him to improve off of that first start. That was against one of the best offenses in baseball, and this game is not going to be because it's against Anaheim. His numbers against Anaheim are pretty good, and 40 at-bats, 17 strikeouts, 9 walks is too many walks. Snell has always had issues with walks, dude. He walks too many guys, but he's borderline unhittable, so that's how he gets away with it. He gets a lot of strikeouts. He's extremely difficult to hit. He's allowed a 225 batting average to Anaheim and a 717 OPS. So I do think Snell should do pretty well here. Jack Kohanowicz is getting the start for the Angels. He's been okay this year. He's been better than he has been in the past. 3.97 ERA, 1.35 whip, though. That's getting concerning. His whip is going up. He's been good at home, though. 1.53 ERA at home. So he's pitched really well at home this year for the most part. His last start is a concern, though. He gave up 6 earned runs to Toronto in 4 innings. It was on the road, though. Had 2 walks, no strikeouts. But prior to that, he was actually pitching effectively. If you take that start out and the first start of the season against Houston, he allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in all the rest of his outings. His strikeout walk ratio really does look bad, though. 30 strikeouts, 23 walks in 45 and a third innings. That's too many walks. He is not a strikeout pitcher, but he's an extreme ground ball pitcher. He gets a lot of ground ball outs, which is not bad. I mean, the only thing that could be bad about it is it could mask, like your other deficiencies. You know what I mean? So that's bad. So you have to try to figure out how to handicap him accordingly. He's allowed 38 hits as well, which is not bad. So like some guys like David Peterson, I told you that his ground ball rate was masking how bad that he was. Like his whip was way too high. His walk numbers are way too high. Kohanowicz at least isn't allowing that many hits. So, I'm not totally ready to bail on him, but he has had a bad career, so maybe he is starting to pitch poorly again, and he's got to go up against the Dodgers here, man. That's not going to be easy. His numbers against them are not as bad as you would think, but they're not that good. In 21 at-bats, 286 batting average allowed, 756 OPS, 4.3 strikeout walk ratio. It's not a large sample size, though, but I think the Dodgers are going to win this game. The problem is, they're laying minus 245. Like, what are you supposed to do about that? Minus 235 now at a lot of spots, some number in that range. The money's all coming in on Anaheim. 57% of tickets on the Dodgers, but 95% of the money on Anaheim. The money's backing Anaheim. I don't agree with it, though. I wouldn't do it, man. I think the Dodgers have the better starting pitcher here. They have the better bullpen. They have the better offense. They're staying in the area. Starting a road trip with momentum. Anaheim's returning home from a road trip. There just aren't that many positives I see for Anaheim here, man. I just don't see it. I don't think I'd want to lay the run line with the Dodgers here either, though. Like the minus 1.5 runs on the road or whatever it might be. It's an option, and you get all 9 innings of hitting out of the Dodgers if you do it that way. But, But no, I don't want to do it. The next game up, we will have a play, though. San Diego at Seattle. Like, just on the surface, I looked at this, and I immediately, what I was thinking immediately. Because I was thinking under. So, we're going to have 3 unders here. That is what we're doing here. Under the 7. I found it at that B book that I'm having issues with at plus 104. But if you look at other books, you can pretty much find this at like even money or at like a minus 104, something in that range. You can find this at a decent price, under 7. Don't let it get to 6.5. 7 is the key number because it breaks the 3-3 tie. That is what we're going with in this one. I like numerous things about this. I mean, we're in a pitcher-friendly ballpark in Seattle. Both these teams have good bullpens. Seattle is returning home from a road trip, which I think can cool off the offense sometimes. Not that their offense has even been that good anyway. Neither of these offenses have been that good either, so a lot of things point towards an under here. Seattle returning home from a road trip. Don't like the spot generally. I mean, again, you can get distracted. Like, is San Diego really a huge interleague rival of theirs? I don't get that. But anyway, Seattle could be distracted returning home, although San Diego's played well enough that I think they might still be winning their division. That's not going to last. The Dodgers are better than San Diego. But Seattle, could be a bit distracted here returning home from the road trip. That's not good. San Diego played yesterday in Milwaukee, so they're traveling from Milwaukee out to the West Coast. So I think that could kind of affect the timing of all the hitting here, that both teams are traveling across time zones here. I don't think that's great for either team. So even though Seattle's is a little bit worse because they're returning home, but I think that can affect the hitting in both on both teams here. As far as the bullpens, they're both good bullpens. Seattle used 2 guys out of the bullpen. They didn't use any of their better relievers, though. San Diego didn't really use any of their better relievers either. So the bullpen set up pretty nicely, in my opinion, here. All the better arms are pretty much available here. San Diego is ranked 5th in bullpen. They're definitely a very good bullpen. Seattle's is solid as well. They're at 14th, but they have one of the best bullpen ERAs, so they are definitely a good bullpen as well. Hitting-wise, like I said, these teams have really not been very good. Seattle's moved up a bit. They're at 14th, so their offense is improving as kind of expected. San Diego's really struggled at the plate. They're at 28th, even though they do have some talented bats there. But I also think the offenses here can kind of help us out. I think the pitching can kind of help us counter the offenses here is what I meant to say. Randy Vasquez is pitching for the Padres. I know we're going back to an under with Vasquez here. It didn't work out last time, but he's had a pretty decent season. 3.05 ERA, 1.17 whip. He's been really good on the road. 1.93 road ERA. I don't understand why he's been that bad at home, though, which is a pitcher-friendly park in San Diego. And this one is as well. Does that mean he's going to pitch bad? Does he pitch bad in all pitcher-friendly parks? I don't know. I don't really think so, but I like that his road ERA is lower. So I think that's going to help. He has decent home road splits. He's coming off a pretty good outing against St. Louis, held them to 1 run in 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, no walks. 3 of his last 4 outings have been pretty good. He allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in 3 of the 4. Got beat up a little bit by the Cubs. They're a good offense. Other than that, not bad. His overall numbers, not bad. 42 strikeouts, 13 walks, 39 hits allowed in 44 and a third innings. He's always been a guy that's walked too many guys, but he has gotten that a bit under control this year, literally. So, yeah, he's pitched fairly well this year, man. And San Diego, by the way, has actually won all but one of his starts. And that was a start where he got no run support 2 starts ago at San Francisco. So, yeah, he looks like he's in decent form right now. San Diego, even though they don't hit well, they've won most of his games, which might be a decent indicator that maybe you could look towards San Diego here as a side as well, but I'm not doing that. I'm going under. Vasquez, his numbers against Seattle, the one concern is the OPS, but the rest of his numbers, except for the walks, are okay. It's a small sample size, 24 at-bats. He's held him to a 250 average, 7-5 strikeout walk ratio is not exactly good. 796 OPS is a little concerning, but remember, a lot of that was when Vasquez was a worse pitcher than he is now. So I think he actually sets up to do all right here. And Emerson Hancock is pitching for Seattle. He's been good. 3.21 ERA, 1.01 whip. He's been better at home as well. 2.74 home ERA. Makes sense. Seattle, pitcher-friendly park. He didn't do well in his last outing. He gave up 5 earned runs at the White Sox, but that was on the road. He still lasted 6 innings, had 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, 5 hits allowed. He got a little bit unlucky to allow 5 runs in that one. If you take that start out, he allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in all of his other starts this season. And he has almost elite numbers this season. A 50-9 strikeout walk ratio is insanely good. 39 hits allowed in 47 and 2/3 innings. His only problem is the home runs. He's allowed 8 home runs, but a lot of them have been on the road. The last 3 of them all came on the road. He did have 1 game where he allowed 3 home runs here at home, but all the rest of the home runs actually have come on the road, so maybe that was a little bit of a fluke. Or he's got to get that under control a little bit, but it seems a little fluky to me. And Hancock against San Diego, he's held them to some pretty low numbers. They actually have 45 at-bats off him, which is kind of surprising to me because they're in opposing leagues, and he hasn't been around for that long. 222 batting average, allowed 655 OPS, 7-2 strikeout walk ratio. He did actually pitch against them earlier this year. Did give up a home run in that game at San Diego. And Seattle lost, but Hancock was good in the game. 6 innings, 2 earned runs, 4 hits allowed, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. He had a good start there. So that's a decent sign as well. I don't know if Vasquez pitched in that series or not. Let me see. He did. Vasquez actually didn't do well in that game against Seattle. He gave up 4 earned runs, walked 4 guys, but he did have 6 strikeouts. I don't know. His strikeout rate was kind of there. The walks just caught up to him in that game. He's got to stop doing that, but that, I'm not going to let that take me completely away from this. The odds makers are telling you. All 3 of our totals, really, except for the Boston-Atlanta one being skewed a little bit high, I think. 2 of these totals are low at 7, 7.5. The odds makers are telling you something with that number. They think it's going to be a lower scoring game, pitching game. I agree with it, and we don't even see percentages really on this at all right now. So, that's not helping us out with the market read here. But Seattle's about a minus 130 favorite. We are going with the under in that game, though. All right, and then we have one more game, which is the Battle of the Bay, San Francisco and the A's here. Maybe there'll be an earthquake during this game, which I think happened during the Battle of the Bay World Series, right, if I'm not mistaken. The A's are staying at home, although they don't seem to do that well at home typically because this stadium is not really a real home stadium. A AAA stadium, not good. The A's are coming off losing to St. Louis a couple of times. Close games in that series, though. San Francisco's coming in off losing the last 2 games to the Dodgers. So they're staying in California, but I don't know, man. Coming off a big series against the Dodgers, I mean, I don't know if you're going to really overlook the Battle of the Bay, and San Francisco's record is really bad, but maybe they're a little bit hungover off that Dodger series. San Francisco used 3 relief pitchers yesterday. The A's don't have a good bullpen, though, and they used 5 relief pitchers, so I'm giving San Francisco a bullpen advantage here. I mean, they have a bullpen advantage. The A's are ranked 24th. San Francisco's ranked 20th, but their ERA is a lot better than that, so I don't think they're that bad of a bullpen. Hitting-wise, yes, San Francisco is really bad. 29th. Yes, the A's have the way better offense. They're 6th currently. Tyler Mahle is pitching for San Francisco. We have Mahle against Savali. It's the rhyming matchup here. Mahle has not been good for the Giants this year, man. 5.18 ERA, 1.49 whip. That's not good. He's been really bad on the road. 8.16 road ERA. That's probably not a good sign, pitching in a very hitter-friendly park when he's already bad on the road. That's not a good sign. He's got 42 strikeouts in 41 2/3 innings, which isn't bad, but 20 walks, 8 home runs allowed. That is not what you want to see when you're going into a home run-friendly ballpark, even though he does get a decent amount of ground balls, but even so, too many home runs. 42 hits allowed as well. That's kind of a lot. He's kind of alternated good and bad starts, though, and if he does alternate again, he'd actually pitch well here, but I don't think I want to rely on that. Going against the A's here, he does actually have good numbers against them. Mahle was actually in their division last year with Texas, but they still only have 18 at-bats against him. 5-2 strikeout walk ratio, 167 average allowed, 472 OPS, so he has actually done well against these A's bats in the past. I don't know if that's going to be enough because I don't really trust anything else about his numbers. Savali pitching for the A's, he's actually been okay. 2.59 ERA, but his 1.39 whip tells you that his ERA is definitely not legitimate. Like, it definitely should be higher than that. He's been a little bit worse at home, which is understandable because it's a hard park to pitch in. 3.45 ERA is still not really that bad, though, but he is worse at home. He's coming off a road shutout of Baltimore. He's actually been good over his last few starts. He's allowed 1 run in his last 3 outings combined, and 2 of them were at home. Not a lot of strikeouts in there, though. 12 strikeouts, 6 walks over that span in 15 innings, I believe is what that was. He's got a 33-13 overall strikeout walk ratio. It's just he doesn't strike out a ton of guys. He's allowed too many hits, though. 45 hits in 41 2/3 innings. Not great. So I do think he's worse than his ERA would suggest. I will say that, which I already did. Numbers against San Francisco are good, though. 67 at-bats, 149 average allowed, 432 OPS, 15-5 strikeout walk ratio. Do we dare go under here? I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I wouldn't go full game because the A's bullpen is really bad. Both starting pitchers actually have good matchup numbers, though. The money's all coming in on the over here. The total's at 10. There are some arguments to be made for a first 5 under in this game, though. But, yeah, it does seem really dangerous as well because there are definitely some negatives with both these pitchers as well. And the home road splits are so bad that, yeah, I don't think I could recommend that either. I don't have a good feel for this game, man. The money is coming in on San Francisco. 66% of tickets on the A's, 81% of the cash on San Fran. I think I disagree. Even though Savali isn't as good as his ERA looks, I think he has been better than Mahle. Mahle's road numbers are just so bad here. I think I would lean A's, maybe first 5, because San Francisco's bullpen is still better. A's are around minus 130 on the money line, but maybe A's first 5 makes sense, but that's going to do it for baseball. We got 3 unders today. WNBA, not going to give out a WNBA play. Most of these games are on Ion. I have one, lean that I feel somewhat strongly about, but it's not good enough in my opinion. And it's not the first game up, even though this is a zigzag spot. Vegas and Connecticut. These teams are playing for the second time in a row. Vegas already obliterated Connecticut. Vegas is one of the best teams in the league. They're the returning champs. They have a lot of those same players back, including Asia Wilson, who I think might have wound up winning MVP last year because Collier got hurt. I don't remember. Connecticut, they're not a good team, man. They're 0-3 so far. They just played Vegas, like I said, in the same arena at Mohegan Sun, I think is still where they're at. And Vegas won the game by 31. Now, I think there will be some regression here. I don't think they're going to win by 31 again. Vegas shot crazy in the game. They shot 54% from the field. That's not going to happen again. Connecticut was 33%. I know this is the WNBA, and we don't see good shooting in the WNBA, but still, that's pretty low. So I think there will be some regression, and this game should be closer this time than that one. But Vegas still kind of dominated the game, man. They won the rebounding battle by 17. They were dominant. They led by as much as 36. So I don't know, man. Even though, you could argue that there'll be some regression here. There should be a zigzag here in favor of Connecticut. I would lean that way. I agree with Connecticut here. The money doesn't agree. 70% of tickets, 65% of the cash on Connecticut here. Vegas is a 15-point favorite, and I think that's basically what they were in the last game as well. I think they were about 15.5. So I think the number is about the same here. I'm going to lean for the zigzag towards Connecticut, like I said, but I don't like it, man. This game, it's going to be a stay away from me. Don't really have a whole lot else to say about that game, but it is a mismatch. That's kind of the problem I have with it. Like, there's just a wide disparity between these two teams. Washington at Indiana. Indiana's got to get back on track, man. They just won in L.A. Kind of weird. They traveled out for one game in L.A., and now they're coming back to Indiana. So it is kind of a return home spot, but the return home spots don't really happen the return home spots are usually from short road trips in the WNBA. But, I don't know what, I just don't know which way to look at this game. Indiana should start doing better. Caitlin Clark hasn't played well so far, but she's coming back from injury. Indiana still needs to gel a little bit with her and, Sophie Cunningham, whatever, coming back from injury. Washington, they were not one of the better teams last year. I don't know how good they are, but they're coming off a big game against the Liberty, who, as we can see, I think the Liberty are one of the top teams in the league, and they won the championship 2 years ago. That was a big game for Washington to take the Liberty into overtime and then fall just short. You know what I always say, when a team puts in a huge effort like that and they almost pull off an upset and beat a good team like that, a lot of times they're hung over in the next game. My problem with it is they know they're facing Indiana, Caitlin Clark, so usually you get up to face Indiana, but they are still coming off a monster effort against the Liberty. So I'm going to slightly lean towards Indiana, laying the points in this one, but I really don't like it. The money does seem to agree with that one. Washington looks like a public side. I don't know, the narrative out there is that Caitlin Clark's not playing well and whatever. She's going to turn it around, though. I mean, she's good. 75% of tickets, 57% of the cash on Washington. So the money looks like it is coming in on Indiana. I agree with that. You have to lay 8 points with them right now, though, if you do it that way. Maybe there are still some 7.5s around. I would lean that way, but it's not going to make my card or anything like that. And it's not my strongest WNBA opinion either. But it does look like you're fading a public underdog if you do take Indiana here. So public underdogs, surprised to see Washington as one, but usually you do want to fade those teams. All right, Toronto and LA. This is actually, I think, my strongest opinion in the WNBA, but I'm not going to play it. LA, they haven't won a game yet, man, and they've played both games at home so far, but they played Vegas and Indiana, so they played some good teams. So I think the fact that LA is off to an 0-2 start, I'm not going to read that much into it. I don't think they're that bad. I think they're kind of a mediocre team. They've had a difficult schedule so far, and this is a step way down in class to face Toronto, who is an expansion team and still, might be dealing with some chemistry and stuff. I think Toronto could be in a difficult spot here because they just got their first win as a franchise. And, that was part of my handicap last night with fading Portland, is they had just gotten their first win as a franchise, which was on their home floor. And it was a huge upset for them. So I thought they were in a letdown spot as part of that, and we got the win yesterday by fading them. Toronto could be in a letdown spot, man, because they got their first win, but it was against Seattle. Maybe that's still big because you get your first win as a franchise. Seattle was in the playoffs last year, although Seattle looks like they're taking a step down this year. They're not very good. But now Toronto also has to go all the way to the West Coast. And I talk about how this can mess with your biological clock. This is Toronto's first time playing outside of their home arena this year. That does not look like a good spot to me. And LA is staying at home. really, looking for their first win of the season. LA is clearly the better team, but it might not be that clear to people that don't follow the WNBA. They might say, oh, LA's 0-2 and Toronto's 1-1 and LA's laying 7.5. Like, how are we getting 7.5 points with the team with the better record? Yeah, that's because obviously the odds makers are telling you LA is actually the better team here. So this is my strongest opinion on this WNBA board. Not going to be a play for me, but I would lay the points with LA here. I know you missed out on a better number. It was 6.5, 7, and now it's through that key number. It's 7.5. I might wait. If you're going to actually play this, I might wait to see if it gets back to 7. Because, 7 is a key number because that's when you stop intentionally fouling, the 3-possession threshold. Toronto, 63% of tickets, 86% of the cash. I'm surprised to see the actual money on Toronto. I don't agree with it. I would lay the points with LA there. Zach, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. I already talked about baseball, man. I lean towards the Royals today, so there you go. Not a play for me on that one. And then we have Chicago-Phoenix is the last game up here. This is a tough one to figure out for me. Phoenix has lost 2 games in a row, but they were to pretty good teams, Golden State, Minnesota. I think Minnesota is not quite as good as they were last year, but I think they're still a pretty solid team. Golden State, I think, is going to be one of the top teams in the league this year. Like, they spent a lot of money to bolster that roster. I think Phoenix is a decent team as well, though, but they've had a very difficult schedule. And, of course, they crushed Vegas in that opener, which was a win for us on the show here. And we did win on the other Vegas game as well, the one against L.A. Phoenix is staying at home here, but they're coming off kind of a tough loss to Minnesota. But remember, that was a revenge win for Minnesota because Phoenix eliminated Minnesota from the playoffs last year. So that game meant a lot to Minnesota. Don't know how much it meant to Phoenix, though. I don't have a good gauge on the situation here. Chicago is 2-0, but they beat Portland, an expansion team, whatever. Impressive that they beat Golden State, though. That's a good win on the road. Chicago pulled off the upset against Golden State. Now they're playing a 3rd straight road game here. That could be a little bit difficult. I don't really see it. I don't really love Chicago in this spot. I think I would lean towards Phoenix. Phoenix is laying 4 points. They're laying points for a reason here. Chicago's getting the money, though. 58% of tickets, 92% of the cash on them. I don't know. I think I would lean in the other direction towards Phoenix, but this is probably my weakest read of all 4 of those games there. So I don't really like it at all. Also, by the way, I do look at who these teams are playing next as well, like Toronto. They're playing LA twice, though, so that kind of throws out that part of that handicap. They're playing LA again in the next game, so it's not a look-ahead spot. All right, and then we have NBA to finish the show off here. There's no NHL tonight. We do have a play in the NBA, by the way, and I'm not going to touch this Detroit-Cleveland series here. I think there are just some conflicting factors here. Now, Detroit should have won the last game, dude. I know Detroit, everybody's complaining that should have been a foul call, but Detroit got tripped at the end of regulation there. I'm not so sure about the foul call, or the lack of a foul call. Like, it looked incidental to me. But what I will say is that the ball went out of bounds with time still left on the clock. And the refs are just like, nope, it's overtime now. So I think the refs should have put, I don't know, some fraction of a second back on the clock. But even if they did, it's not like Detroit was going to do anything with that remaining time. But the game was tied at that point. The Cavs wound up winning in overtime. But if you're Detroit, you got to blame yourselves for blowing. I think they had a 9-point lead with 3 minutes left, and that's what Detroit blew in that game. It was the first Cleveland road win of the playoffs this postseason. Cleveland's been an extreme home road splitty, and Detroit has as well. Detroit's been better at home all season. They've been better at home during the playoffs. Cleveland's been a lot better at home as well, but now they are at home tonight. So Cleveland might actually do this, finish it off tonight. They do not want to have to go on the road and play Game 7 on the road. Game 7s usually favor the home team, and, Cleveland's been such a home-road split type of team. They do not want to have to do that. So they're definitely going to be motivated here. But obviously, Detroit's going to be an underdog tonight. And Detroit, an underdog with max urgency because they're facing elimination. Not really something I necessarily want to fade either. Detroit was winning most of this game here against Cleveland in the last game here. So, yeah, Detroit was winning like almost 70% of the game. Cleveland did actually win the rebound battle for once. Cleveland, the one really lopsided thing about this game that I think will regress, though, is Cleveland went to the line 18 more times, and they hit 13 more free throws. That was a big outlier, dude. Cleveland was going to the line way more. And Detroit has been the team that's been going to the line way more for most of the series. So I think that is going to flip a little bit, even though this game is going to be in Cleveland. I think there is going to be a big regression there. I think that is the one major regression point, is Cleveland's amount of free throws. I think that is going to regress. Other than that, I mean, Cleveland did shoot 40% from three in that game, which is a bit high as well, so that might see some regression as well. But again, the free throws was really the biggest outlier that I saw in that box score. Detroit actually had 15 more field goal attempts in the game, which does tell you that Detroit was outplaying Cleveland for a lot of that game. If you have more possessions, typically that's going to mean you're going to have more points in the game. But again, Cleveland did have more possessions than that makes it look like, because they went to the free throw line a ton. Cleveland is a 4-point favorite or so here. That's about where it was in the other home games. The money is indicating towards Cleveland. Detroit, 57% of tickets, 55% of the cash on Detroit. I did say I felt that Cleveland would win this series. Cleveland does have the experience edge. Detroit is the better defense, though. And better defense getting points, maybe I wouldn't count them out. As far as, like, if there's any sort of zigzag that could happen here, I think it is the Cleveland free throw shooting, though. So I think I might actually lean towards taking the points with Detroit. But, of course, I don't think I want to do that, because Cleveland's like 8-1 against the spread at home in the playoffs so far, or whatever it is. And they've won all of the games outright. So I don't want to fade that type of thing. And the experience factor for Cleveland, whatever. I think Detroit has been the better coached team throughout the series, though. Although Atkinson looks like he's finally turning it around with Cleveland, but he did not coach well in the first few games. His rotations just made no sense. Anyway, that is not going to be the game I'm going to play. By the way, the money is coming in towards the under in that game. 57% of tickets, 65% of the cash on the under. It makes sense, because once you get to these late series games like this, and these close series, you get really intense defense. So the under makes some sense, but the total has dropped from, I think it was around 213, 212.5 in the last game at Cleveland, and now we're looking at 210. So the odds makers obviously know this, and they're going to start lowering the total. So there's less value in playing the under there. And I just don't see too many outliers as far as, like, why the last game. Like, the last game went under in regulation, and most of these games have gone over. If you had the under, you got screwed, because the game went under in regulation and only went over because of overtime. Very aptly named overtime in that one. So, there weren't really outliers in that game that sent the game over, but the fact that it went into overtime is what sent it over. All right, last game is San Antonio and Minnesota, and we will have a play on this. We're going to zigzag. We're going to take Minnesota plus 5.5. And the last time we did this, I know the play lost when we did this in Game 3. It was a very similar setup. Minnesota got blown out in San Antonio. I thought it was a zigzag. I thought there were some regression points. Minnesota as an underdog, good defensive team, even though both teams are good defensively. At home, Minnesota has a lot more experience, although I know San Antonio is getting more experience as they go here. I get it. But Minnesota has already been here deep into these series before in these high-pressure situations. So I liked all that. And Minnesota, they should have covered in Game 3. Like, they got out to a really bad start, but then they got right back into the game, and they were covering the game, they were right in that game, basically wire to wire, and then they fell just short at the end by like 1 or 2 baskets. So Minnesota did not play poorly in that game, Game 3, and this setup is very similar to that one. Like I said, we're getting, I think, an extra half point here with the 5.5. Money is indicating on Minnesota, 52% of tickets, 56% of the cash on them. So the money looks like it agrees. These games are both on Amazon Prime, by the way. Minnesota is, of course, facing elimination here at home and getting points. That is a situation where I think you tend to want to look towards that team. The 2 home games, Minnesota, by the way, they lost both home games in this series by 7 and 5. Or, by 7, and then they won the other game by 5. My mistake. So, Yeah, Minnesota has been close to covering both of these games at home. But, of course, the game they won, Wemby got ejected from the game. But Minnesota was losing that game late, I'm pretty sure. And they erased like an 8-point deficit late in the game and still won. So, you know. But, yes, Wemby being out obviously did factor into that. But let's look at what happened in the last game, dude. San Antonio won the previous game by almost 30 points. They won by 29 points. And you look at what happened in this game, it wasn't really what it looked like, dude. This game was tied in the third quarter. Like almost midway through the third quarter, the game was tied. And then Minnesota was still within, I think, single digits, a couple of points in the fourth quarter. So this game wasn't totally what it looked like. And I think we're going to see some regression points here. Minnesota shot 39% from the field, while San Antonio shot 53% from the field. I think we'll see some regression points there. I know Minnesota has had some offensive issues here, but they're definitely worse on the road as well. And you got to think they're going to shoot better than that. That is low for an NBA game, plus 27% from three. I think Minnesota will shoot a bit better here, even though I know San Antonio is very good defensively. San Antonio should not shoot this well again, 53%. I think Wemby was just kind of taking over the game, whatever, but yeah, I just think that this game was not quite the blowout that it looked like on the scoreboard. I think there will be some regression points there and progression points as far as the shooting. Minnesota only lost the rebound battle by 8, which isn't really that bad. And then Minnesota, like I said, they are also a better home team. 26-15 at home. San Antonio is a little bit more vulnerable as a road team. 29-12. And we have seen that be the case in this series. Yeah, I liked all of this, man. And as far as the total is concerned, the money's slightly indicating towards the over. I don't know if I agree with that. I think if Minnesota's going to do well in this game, I think they need it to be an under game. Like, you need to hold San Antonio's scoring in check a little bit if you're going to cover. As a Minnesota team, it's better on defense than offense. Anthony Edwards looks like he's still not 100%, but he is still going out there and playing. So there is that. Give him credit for that, man. Yeah, so I think as far as the injuries are concerned, yeah, it's just the same pretty much throughout the series. We don't have a whole lot going on with the injury report there. In either of these games, yeah, I mean, it's the playoffs, man. I mean, your best players are going to play, so you don't really have to worry about any of that. But as far as the total, yeah, the total's around where it has been in the series at 218.5. But maybe you got to think that because the game in San Antonio last time was around that same number, a game in Minnesota might be a little bit lower scoring than that. So I kind of lean under in this game, especially because I think that would be correlated to Minnesota. But I don't have a good opinion on the total there. Plus, I think while San Antonio's shooting might regress, I think Minnesota's shooting should get better in this game. So I like the side in that one for zigzag. That's going to do it, man. That's the show for today. We have 4 plays, 3 baseball full game unders, which are Yankees, Mets under the 7 or 7.5, depending on what price you can find out there. Boston and Atlanta under 8, and San Diego, Seattle under 7. And then we have the Minnesota T-Wolves plus the points. That's going to do it. Let's get back on track. I mean, 2-2, it's acceptable. I mean, if you're going to have a losing day, I want it to, at worst, be a slight-ish losing day. And it could have been a 2-1 winning day if I didn't add that last play. Nolan McLean, I'm going to call him up, man, and demand that he give me my money back. That's going to do it. Learn to Toad on Twitter. You can subscribe to me there. That helps me out. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Like, subscribe to the channel here, and you'll get notified. I will do a Preakness show. I keep forgetting to mention that. The Preakness is tomorrow. I know it's less heralded. It's probably the least heralded of the 3 I almost said Derby. The 3 horse races. They're the Triple Crown races. I know the Derby, we got a little bit messed up by a couple of those horses that got in there. Into the winner's circle. But, yeah, we'll talk about the Preakness. I'll be an idiot about it because I don't really know that much about it. I don't think I'm going to actually put money on it or anything, but I'll give my thoughts on the Preakness. I have to do that tonight, I think, because it's tomorrow. So I'm going to do that. So be on the lookout for that. Subscribe, and you'll get the notifications for it. I know I still have to do an NFL season preview, season win totals, whatever. That will come in the near future as well. We'll be having some World Cup stuff coming up, which might just be me filling out the knockout stage bracket, but at least I'll probably do that just for fun at the very least. even if I might not actually be betting the World Cup, which when I've done it in the past, I've done it not that seriously. I've just done it very sparingly, where I thought that, oh yeah, this makes sense to do this. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Listen on audio as well. We're on audio, Apple, Spotify, Spreaker. That all helps me out as well. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel on YouTube. Keeping that up to date still. Patreon.com/LearnToToad. You can throw me some support there. Trying to keep that up to date as well with the Uke feed at least. Losercast every Tuesday night. You can check that out. G-Spot, the Giants podcast that I'm on with Ben Weir and Adam Nutter. Maybe a mainstay on that show. I don't even know. But that, we'll be back doing that show at some point. That's going to do it for now. Let's get back on the winning side today. Peace, everybody.
But don't you go quiet, don't you fade from the floor. Your name still means something to somebody for sure. Put the glass down, baby. Look at me now.